More breaking news right now, and this coming from the Middle East. Tensions skyrocketing there after assassinations this week, and we are getting right now some brand new details about exactly how the assassination of the Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh went down. And these are incredible details that Jeremy Diamond is breaking. He's in Haifa, Israel, in northern Israel right now. And Jeremy, these details are pretty stunning.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Aaron. I mean, this was a quite sophisticated operation. I'm told by a source familiar with the matter that Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated in Tehran early yesterday morning using a bomb that was covertly hidden in the guest house where he was staying. But this bomb, I'm told, was actually covertly planted inside that guest house about 2 months ago, and it was only remotely detonated once it was clear that Ismail Haniyeh, Hamas's political leader, was actually inside his room inside of that guest house. When that bomb was detonated, he was killed alongside his bodyguard, who was also there. Now, we should note that Israel has still neither confirmed nor denied its involvement in this. Iranian officials and Hamas have said that Israel was behind this attack. I'm also told that Israeli officials actually briefed U.S. officials on this operation, but only after it took place, only after we learned that Ismail Haniyeh had been killed in this. What's also interesting here is that this guest house was actually under the control of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and so this represents a stunning breach of security for them, a very big embarrassment for the IRGC. And we've reached out to Iranian officials for comment on this, but we know, of course, that we heard yesterday from Iran's supreme leader vowing revenge, saying that Israel has, quote, paved the way for your harsh punishment. This assassination has put this region on a knife's edge. In addition, of course, to the Israeli strike in Beirut just hours before this that took out a senior Hezbollah commander, there are now threats of retaliation, not only from Iran, but also from Hezbollah and Hamas, putting this region and this area where I am right now in northern Israel very much on edge as the possibility of retaliation now looms. Aaron.
Thank you very much, Jeremy Diamond. Cedric Leighton joins me now. Colonel Cedric Leighton. Colonel, Jeremy's reporting is really stunning. And he mentioned this, but let's just emphasize this again. He is reporting that ostensibly some Israeli operative, although they have not confirmed their involvement, planted an IED in Tehran in a guest house controlled by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the elite IRGC, 2 months ago, and then remotely detonated it when they knew that the guy they wanted to get was actually staying in that house. Holy cow.
Yeah, holy cow is right, Aaron. This is a classic operation, kind of in line with the tradition of Israeli intelligence, going back, almost to the founding of Israel. And what the Israelis, if they did this, what they were able to do, as Jeremy pointed out, was breach security in a really remarkable way. The IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, is very much in control of a lot of different aspects of Iranian life, but they weren't in direct control of this guest house, which was ostensibly their own guest house. And whoever breached this, and the supposition is that it was Israel, but whoever did this did a remarkable job. And the fact also has to be noted that this was not detected for probably over 2 months, if Jeremy's reporting is and his sources are accurate. So that really indicates that people were quite frankly overcome by their own sloppiness in this particular case. And this very fact on the Iranian side shows that Israel has been able to penetrate their security apparatus quite a bit. And that, of course, signals some major weaknesses in the Iranian structure.
I mean, Jeremy, just to emphasize this, and I know, obviously, I don't know if your reporting is how detailed it is on the form of an IED, but you have an improvised explosive device inside a guest house, which would presumably mean no one was sweeping it or checking it before this Hamas leader came in, or in fact any time in the past 2 months, which would seem to be just a really basic point of protocol.
Yeah, look, we don't know exactly what kind of explosive device this was. We don't know exactly where it was hidden, whether this was something that could have evaded the typical checks that the IRGC would conduct on this. But I think one clear failure of security here is the fact that this guest house, the reason why this bomb was planted there is because it was a guest house where Ismail Haniyeh was known to have stayed. And so this indicates that Haniyeh was a repeat guest in this same location, which is obviously a major security vulnerability that the Israelis appear to have exploited here. And so we don't know exactly how this happened, but there's no question that there will be major questions asked within the IRGC, within Iran's top political and military echelons about how this could have possibly happened. And I also think it's notable that yesterday Iranian state media was reporting that this was a rocket that was fired from outside into this guest house that actually killed Haniyeh. But the fact that it was actually something that was planted in the guest house suggests even additional layers of failure. It also makes clear that this was not fired by a drone or by a fighter jet that would have violated Iranian airspace. So that also may factor into how Iran chooses to retaliate for this assassination.
And that's a significant point as well. Colonel, it also, though what Jeremy's saying, does just make one thing sort of unbelievably clear. So let's just say it in black and white. That means a human being is involved, who's in Tehran, who actually gets access to this guest house and plants something. At some point, there is a human being infiltration, which is different than what Jeremy's saying they had originally been put out there about a rocket or a drone, right, which could be completely done remotely. That shows actual physical human involvement, Colonel.
It does, absolutely, and it's really a classic case of, in essence, a clandestine operation. These are the kinds of operations you would have seen the British conduct in World War II with a special operations executive in Europe. You would have seen the OSS, the forerunner of the CIA, doing stuff like this also in that conflict. And the Mossad has a history of doing things of this type in various countries around the world, and of course Iran is a prime target. We know a lot about the, many of the nuclear scientists who have been killed in Iran, ostensibly by the Israelis. That kind of operation and the fact that these things are continuing and that there's such a significant penetration of IRGC security at a guest house that is frequented by people like Haniyeh, that really shows that, as Jeremy said, there's a significant weakness in their security apparatus, and they really didn't take care of things.
All right. Thank you very much, Colonel and Jeremy, for that incredible and significant reporting on that assassination.